Well, hello, sports fans. It's your favorite program once again, Socialing the Distance. Today we have a real treat. Longtime friend Josh Rowe. He's a board member at the NSAF, the National Scholastic Athletic Foundation, correct?
Yes, nailed it. Nailed it.
All right, Josh. Well, that doesn't happen often. Great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you, Larry.
And you guys have got the press release, said it all, but tell us a little bit about what's going on and what you guys announced yesterday.
Yeah, the next chapter of the NSAF championship events, we announced yesterday that Nike has come back on board as a title sponsor. Nike was instrumental in the growth of the NSAF, starting, in the late '90s with their involvement in our indoor championship. They later got in the early 2000s involved in the outdoor championship, and when I was at Nike, it was actually the perfect system, if you will. When we started the Nike Cross Meet, we started that in partnership, with NSAF, and they helped us develop the whole thing. So we had the Nike Cross Nationals, we had the Nike Indoor Nationals, Nike Outdoor Nationals. So there was like this perfect system back in throughout the 2000s, and then I moved to New Balance. Brought with me the NSAF championships. The contract expired with Nike. We decided to bring New Balance on as a sponsor. And it was a great 10 years with New Balance. I think we brought New Balance, if you think about where New Balance was in 2010, there wasn't a very big presence with the high school world, right? So we had an amazing run of 10 years, and New Balance went from, I remember the first time I went to the Armory in 2010 and literally did not see a single New Balance shoe in the building. Like, whoa, we got our work cut out for us, right? But as I say, marketing works. You and I have jobs because marketing works, right?
Oh, it's true. It's true. I remember, in fact, you flew me out for that meet, 2010, and you guys had picked up some kids from the UK. You picked up a bunch of new athletes, and the uniforms really hit, and you guys were really, people got it. You guys are starting to put stuff in, but it takes time.
It takes time, and after 10 years, New Balance now has a tremendous market share within the space. That contract ended. New Balance decided to do a few more things, and so I called Nike and I said, we have an opportunity here. I think they were looking to, Nike's always looking to further develop their relationship with young folks, and so the opportunity presented itself again. It dovetailed with the relaunching and reimagining of Hayward Field, and so we got in touch with what's called the Hayward Magic Group, who Phil Knight has tapped to help further the sport. They were interested in bringing our championship event outdoors to Hayward Field. So that was a tremendous effort last year to move our championships from North Carolina A&T, where it had been for years and years, over a decade, to the best track and field facility in the world. And so we launched the Nike Outdoor Nationals last year at Hayward Field, the first high school event in the new Hayward Field. So that was thrilling. And I think people were as blown away as expected. I mean, I know you've been there. It's an incredible facility, and giving kids the opportunity to experience Hayward Field, it's like a football player playing in the Super Bowl, right? It's a basketball player playing in the NBA championship. These facilities are unlike anything else, and so it was really special for those kids, giving them the opportunity to do what they do in that stadium. So we're super excited for that Nike partnership. They'll partner with us indoors at our new facility at Ocean Breeze, and then continue with the outdoor championships. And what I love is, we continue to push the envelope on innovation and improving that athlete experience. I know you saw this. One of the things we did outdoors that we're super thrilled about is, for the first time ever, kids, as soon as they finished their competition, went back to the warm-up area, or the recovery area, put the warm-ups on, they grabbed their phone, and they had a notification on their phone that their competition video was ready for them to view and download. So individual athlete videos on their phone when they got back to their phone right after their race. they can then put it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever they wanted to do with them. So super cool activation brought largely by our friends at Runner Space. And they're a tremendous partner of ours. We've partnered for them for over a decade now, and they continue to deliver amazing activations for us. So it's really, we couldn't do what we do without those partnerships between Hayward Magic and Nike and Runner Space. Tracktown is a great partner with us now that we're in Eugene. They're amazing, Michael and his team. So yeah, we're just thrilled to continue to give kids opportunities to do what they do. And that's what we're most thrilled about.
When people have asked me what the NSAF does, I've tried to explain that their real focus is giving high school athletes a chance to excel. And the attention that Jim Burns and the late, or Jim Spear and the late Mike Burns put in the stuff in the 90s and even in the late 80s and early 90s was pretty tremendous. And what you've built between the NXN, the Nike Indoor, the Nike Outdoor, and you've done it with multiple partners, which tells us that one, what we know is that almost all the brands need to be in that sweet spot, that 14, 18-year-old. And they get hot for it, and then they kind of walk away and they go, oh my God, where's the young consumer, right? And the funny thing is, you guys have been doing this for close to 3 decades now. Let's go back to Hayward Field for a minute. I call it a sanctuary of sport, and the icons to the great duck athletes and to track history are just tremendous. Did a lot of the kids get a tour of it? Were they just kind of checking it out? How did that work?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of COVID restrictions, so we were playing with that too, and we were limited on numbers. And it was literally only a few weeks before the event where we actually got the final okay to host the event. So it was such a crazy year last year. Trying to put on a meet we're hoping gets pulled off. And at any time we were told the state of Oregon can shut it down if there's a spike someplace. So we were really rolling the dice, but we knew it was worth rolling the dice. What's cool about Hayward Field is the stadium obviously is incredible, but the behind the scenes, the tower and what happens, the whole infrastructure underneath with the warm-up tracks and almost like the museum underneath is really special. We weren't getting tours, but kids, the call room was downstairs, so they got pulled from the warm-up track into the call room underneath Hayward Field. So they got to experience that down there, got their bibs and their hip numbers and everything, then brought out through the tunnel onto the track. So the kids competing really did kind of get that Olympian type experience where they're underneath, they walk out onto the track into the big stadium. We couldn't have the fans there like we wanted because we were so restricted again due to the pandemic, but hopefully in the coming years we'll be able to get more people in the stands so they can experience the true magic of Hayward Field, which we've all experienced at times, which is the raucous crowd there and the energy that Hayward Field crowds can bring. So although they didn't get the full experience, the experience they did get was pretty magical.
Talk to me about the NSAF. How did it come about? What's its goal?
Yeah, and you mentioned it with Jim Spear and the late great Mike Burns. Early on, they always had a desire, and you nailed it, is giving kids an opportunity to showcase their talent, to help further their talent, whether it's a kid who's a 420 miler who wants to go to a D3 school, right? Or Alan Webb or Dathan Ritzenheim who have the world at their fingertips, right? And we want to bring, Dathan and Alan together to compete against each other, right? So it's giving kids at every level the opportunity to showcase what they do. And whether it's the championship events we do, or the clinics we do, or the grant programs we do, it's all about giving kids opportunities. One of the things that people don't realize is the amount of grant dollars the NSAF gives programs to help them, whether it's to get an individual kid to U.S. juniors so he has a chance to make a world junior team to showcase his talent, right? Or a program applies for a grant to get uniforms for their program because they can't buy uniforms, and now they get uniforms, so then they can actually compete and create a program. So this to me is one of the most amazing things about the foundation is the grant programs that our championship events fund to give kids who wouldn't have otherwise the ability to compete in this amazing sport of ours, the ability to compete. So at every level of the sport, from the basics, this is my first time running on the track, to the Meb Keflezgis and the Thing Moos and the Jenny Simpsons and the Mondo Duplantises of the world, like in that entire spectrum. It's over 2/3 of the last couple Olympic teams, participants, the U.S. track and field teams, have come through our program. So, and they were not necessarily national champions, right? Jenny Simpson was not a national champion. We've had kids make teams that were in our emerging elite division, which is the kind of the B division, right? So those kids that aren't quite at the top yet, we still want to give them the opportunity to compete at this level to help give them the spark to take it to the next level, right? So it's amazing the kids that have made Olympic teams that weren't in our championship division, right? They weren't there yet, but they go to the event, they see what the opportunities in front of them, they get a college scholarship, they go on and they further develop, right? Because you don't have to be a national champion in high school to make an Olympic team. And that's one of the things that I think is most thrilling for us, is knowing at each one of our meets, there are future Olympians on that track on that day. We don't know which ones they are, right? Sure, you have the Mondo Duplantis who set national high school records in our meets, right? And then go on to set world records. Like those, that's a little more traditional trajectory, but more often than not, the Jenny Simpsons of the world, who are world champions, Olympic medalists, they actually weren't high school national champions, right? So it's giving kids that opportunity and be able to see that path forward. That to me is one of the most exciting things we do.
You mentioned, well, we were talking about the indoor for a second. How many athletes do you expect to compete at the indoor this year?
Yeah, I'm guessing 2,500. I think we still hear from coaches, especially right now, this spike in the pandemic. The pandemic influence is still real. I think some people are afraid to get on planes. Some people are afraid to go inside today. We're down at Ocean Breeze this weekend, and I think we're not back. We're not out of this yet. So I think the numbers aren't where they were pre-pandemic. But regardless of the pandemic, kids still want to compete. They want to compete against the best competition in the country. They want to compete for college scholarships. They want to be seen by coaches. And there's no better place to be seen than our events. So I think there still is quite a big demand. Not quite what it was pre-pandemic, but hopefully we'll get there soon. More importantly, hopefully we'll get past this pandemic soon.
Will you require masks at the indoor?
Not during competition. So they'll be able to wear the masks. As we go by the guidance of the government agencies within those jurisdictions. So today you can compete at Ocean Breeze without a mask on. We hope that's still the case, but we just follow local guidelines on that.
What is do the kids have to get vaccines or boosters or anything like that to compete? I was just curious because I don't know. What are you guys doing with that right now?
It's a great question. I believe today you do not have to be vaccinated to compete in our event. I should know this, but this is more Joy Kamani's world than she handles most of this stuff. But I believe, I think most kids are vaccinated, but I believe the restrictions at our event, you're not actually required to be vaccinated to compete at our event.
Are there any, I recall back in the 90s, Jim and Mike getting a little frustrated sometimes because there are certain states that didn't allow kids to compete post-state meet. Does that still go on now? Do you still have to deal with that?
So many kids can't represent their high school at our championship events.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think there's many states that don't allow kids to compete at all, but they can't represent St. Helens High School, for example. Sure. They might be able to represent a club, right? And so they can run for a club. And oftentimes, if they don't have a club, when you register, you have to register as an affiliation. So most kids, if they don't have a club they run for, create a club that they can then represent. But there are still a lot of states that don't allow you to represent your high school in the postseason competitions.
Do you have a club competition at these meets? I mean, do you keep points for the clubs? I was just curious. I didn't know.
No, we don't, and it's a good idea. We've often thought about it, right? And it's almost like a state meet in high school. There's something to be said for having a club competition? We've kicked around a bunch of ideas over the years on how to create team competitions within the sport of track. I don't know if you remember this. When I was at Nike, we had the idea of this Nike Track Nationals, where we created the decathlon events. Right, we took 10 events, right, and we actually threw out the javelin because not every state does the javelin, and added a 2-mile. But it was basically the decathlon events, and so you had a team competition where you could have 10 different individuals, or however many different individuals make up those 10 basic events. So you got throws, you got jumps, you got sprints, you got hurdles, you got distance, and calculate a team champion based on some tables, right? We worked with John Dye, and actually Derek's son created these tables for us. So that was kind of a fun competition. I've always often thought about, bringing that back again, because I think that's a pretty cool representation of how good a team is when you have, like, how good are your hurdlers and jumpers and sprinters and distance runners, and to come together to create a team champion. There's so many ways we can slice and dice the sport to add some interest, but that's one I've always liked that concept.
Yeah, the competition and the team competition, that's such a thing that's such a big deal with Americans. It's why every 4 years the Olympic stuff goes crazy, and that's I've always wanted a USA Russia meet, or I went to the one in Minsk a couple years ago. It was USA versus Europe, and they had 40,000 people in the stands watching it. And they want to bring that one over here. If you were talking to a group of high school coaches, why should they bring their athletes to compete at the Nike Indoor, Nike Outdoor?
I think a couple things. One, the competition, right? It's you'll get no better competition than at these two meets, and at any meet in the country, right? So I think the competition is one thing. I think the experience for the kids, right? It's on the track and off the track, right? It's the experience of being around other kids. A great story. Last year in Eugene at the outdoor meet, I was at Tracktown Pizza, which I'm sure you've been to many times. They're across the street, and I was standing there waiting for a pizza order, and there was a kid in the cat who was a multi-event guy waiting for his pizza. Another kid walked in, and it happened to be another multi-event kid. And just to listen to these two kids who've never known each other, I think one was the top-rated kid, the other was like the 4th-rated kid in the country. They'd never met each other. They struck a conversation, and in 5 minutes, it was like they were best friends. So people will meet people like individuals that you never get the opportunity to meet. So that's one of the coolest things about our events is the friendships these kids develop through the competition, but off the track, is unlike anything else. And then there's all the fun stuff like the videos and the backpacks and all that fun stuff too, that we create these lifelong memories. But we create memories for kids that'll last a lifetime. Another amazing story, a kid in Eugene last year, his coach found out the meets at Hayward Field. And the program didn't have a lot of money, but the coach said to the athlete, look, if there's any way you can get here, this will be an experience that you will possibly never, ever get again. So the kid got a job. So this was in the winter. He found out. The kid got a job throughout the spring, raised enough money to buy a ticket to Eugene. His parents couldn't join him, so they helped him get a hotel room. He got an Airbnb in Eugene. He got himself there, got there, didn't have a car. He's 18 years old, couldn't rent a car, found a bike that he could rent, went back and forth to the track each day on his bike. And he thanked us for giving him the opportunity to create this lifelong experience. He was a steeplechase kid.
Oh,
and
cool.
The energy for this little guy this young man was so infectious that he got the opportunity to come compete against the best kids in the country in the greatest track and field stadium in the world. And it was an experience unlike he could never, ever have. So that's what kids get. That's what coaches get when they come to our events is those lifelong experiences that could propel them to greatness, right? Whether it's a college track scholarship or just their confidence to do something off the track, right? And so much of the world is about confidence in yourself and learning, and so they pursue a track career or something else. I think these events give kids so much beyond that competition on the track, which is incredible as well.
Okay. Give me 3 athletes who competed in the Nike Indoor Outdoor that surprised the heck out of you and how far they went.
A thing Moo, right? Recent example.
Yeah.
Right? She was amazing in high school. But to go where she was just a couple of years ago in high school to Olympic champion last year, I mean, just overnight, right? Like, she is an incredible athlete and just a wonderful person. So I think that was an amazing one. I mentioned Jenny Simpson earlier. Jenny was something, she was good in high school. Let's not forget that. She was good in high school, but she wasn't all world, right? She wasn't a national champion. And she went to Colorado. She continued to progress at Colorado. She had an amazing career at Colorado. And then she's gone on to be probably the most decorated U.S. middle distance runner ever, right? So Jenny was a great example of someone who did amazing things. Allison Felix, right? Allison started out. Now, Allison was another amazing high school athlete. She was I think she has 3 high school national records or did at the time. So she's another incredible one. But, Joe Kovacs, Joe, he's just a Pennsylvania state champion, right? Came to our meets through not all world by any means in high school, and now 2-time world shot put champion, right? So it's across the board, amazing. The Mebs of the world, the Noah Lyles, another great representative of our events. He participated in so many of our events. Sydney McLaughlin, another incredible one. But again, you have the Joe Kovacs of the world and the Jenny Simpsons who weren't all world in high school, who have gone to become all world, and then you have the Mondos and the Thing Moos, those people that really were at a world-class level at high school and continued on to do amazing things.
How has social media helped or hindered your events?
We did something this year outdoors that was fun for the first time. Is we gave kids a graphic, a social media Instagram graphic, basically, that was a ticket to Hayward Field. Like, I'm going to Hayward Field, and as soon as they were accepted into the meet, they got this graphic to post on their social media, and then they were encouraged to document their journey to Hayward Field. And our friends at the Hayward Magic Group really had a lot of fun and selected a lot of those posts to put in basically a Nike highlight video of all these kids under the hashtag Make It to Hayward, right? So that was super fun. So social media has just become so important in the things we do, and talking to kids where they are, about what they are doing and what they're up to, and then giving them the assets, giving them the tools and the material to express their experience and share their experience once they're at the event and post-event. So, the videos I mentioned, and giving kids the ability to document what they do and share what they do to the rest of the world, they're the biggest ambassadors for our foundation and for Nike, really. And I think that's what Nike sees too, is how do we let these kids talk about their experience and sell what we do and share that experience on behalf of the sponsors and brands and organization. What
I know about the backpacks, which I see in every airport when I'm traveling. What other things do kids get when they compete at one of your national meets?
You mentioned the backpack, and do you want to talk about the story of the backpack, how the backpack came to be?
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
this is fascinating. So I started at Nike in 1998, And at one of the first meets I went to was the 1999 Nike Indoor, and we gave away, the NSAF gave away T-shirts, and Nike gave them a bunch of T-shirts to give the participants. You come to the meet, you get a T-shirt, right? That was everything back then, right? You got a T-shirt when you went to a road race or you went to a track meet. But here I am as the Nike guy trying to sell retail shirts. I'm like, guys, your giving away shirts actually hurts my retail because kids don't want to buy a shirt if they're getting a shirt. And they said, okay. I said, can we give away something else that they will still come buy a shirt, but we can give them something else that they wouldn't buy otherwise? And Nike said, or the foundation said, sure, whatever you would like to give us to give away, so be it. So kids aren't going to buy a backpack at a retail stand, right, at a track meet. So we said, let's just give them a backpack. And that's how it started, back in 2000. And then, so that became the athlete gift, was a backpack. And then when I was at the New Balance, we took it to another level. And you remember Patrick Tomaszewicz, and I give a lot of credit to the backpack explosion to Patrick Tomaszewicz. And when he was on the job, working on these meets, he said, let's take this backpack to a new level. And so he started creating custom backpacks for us. And that's when the backpack really took off, when it became just not a inline backpack with a name on it, but it became something special. And to your point, yeah, we see them everywhere, right? And 2 years ago, when the world shut down, when we were in New York, so the world shut down in March, the day before the indoor meet in 2020, right? And we had people calling us and said, wait a minute, I know the meet's not on, but can I come get the backpack? There was a family that drove from Ohio to the Armory to pick up their backpack. Even though the meet was shut down. There was a family that drove from Atlanta to New York. We're still coming because we said, look, the meet's shut down. We have all these backpacks at the meet. If you guys want to come by the Armory, you can have your backpack. And so the family from Atlanta flew in, from Ohio drove in just so they could come to the Armory and get their backpack. So yeah, these things have taken on a life of their own.
Yeah, I recall seeing at one of the Foot Locker events, NB did it where they had broken up. There was regions. And then I know at the border, or not at the border clash, at the NXN, they had it broken up too. And I just thought that whole idea of bespoke bags and some of the things, it just made the kids feel special.
It's a badge of honor, right?
Yeah. And watching those kids compete in other places, I always thought one of the things you guys did was created lasting friendships. It was like in the 70s, at the end of the season, there was the Keebler Invitational. And it's where Steve Prefontaine met a couple. Yeah, Steve Prefontaine met a couple of his lifelong friends, and I heard and Jim Spivey, same thing. He talked about it, how people he met. I think he met Craig Virgin at the meet, and it was just it just kept going. And what happens at your meets is these kids meet each other. And whether they go on or not, they're developing relationships. And it's, I competed in high school 50 years ago this year, and I've still got 2 or 3 buddies that I talk to, pretty frequently. And so those relationships are huge. And I think you guys.
We have a couple of couples that met our events and are now married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's no joke.
Did Dathan compete in the
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I thought, because I met Dathan when he was 15 at the Foot Locker Regional at UW Parkside.
Yeah, in Kenosha.
Yeah, him and Hartman. And they were cracked me up. You look at them now and the things they do, and it just
incredible.
Makes me feel older, not you, because you're still 30. Yeah. But what is the board at NSAF is fascinating to me. You have everybody from you have Larry Rawson, Spire. What is the thing that unites everybody about the NSAF?
It's just a passion for kids and helping kids realize their potential, right? And I think at every level, whether it's going to be an Olympic champion or going to be a doctor, it's a passion for giving young people opportunity. And I think that's what the foundation is all about, whether it's the championship events or the grant programs or the clinics. It's how do we help you realize your full potential? And that's what I think unites all, and all of us have a passion for that, whether they're coaches or broadcasters or massage therapists or whoever it is that on our board, marketing people. It's everyone has a passion for helping young people realize their potential. And that's what unites us. And of course, a love for the sport,
Sure,
right? But that goes without saying.
The events you've done are amazing. The results are mind-boggling, and they're inspirational. And I remember year after year posting the results, getting great pictures. Chris Lotzman wrote some stories for a while to help us out with things. And then we'd get interviews of some of the different athletes. And, Cindy McLaughlin and Noah Lyles, they became rock stars, really because of those meets. Do you do programs for coaches as well?
Yeah, and not as many as we should. And coaches are the most important lifeblood of our organization because kids come and go, right? But coaches are so important to us. And through some of the clinics we do, we have coaching programs that go along with those clinics. But it's something that we could certainly do more of, and I look forward to hopefully doing more things for coaches. And we have some cool for our indoor meet this year. We have a couple of cool coaching and parent-centered programs because those coaches they truly are the lifeblood of the sport. One of the things the foundation does too, as you know, Larry, is we created the National High School Track and Field Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And that's been a tremendous success. And one of the most amazing things about that is listening to the induction speeches. And 9 times out of 10, when the athletes are thanking those who helped them get to where they are, the first person they mention, their high school coach. And you ran, I ran, our high school coaches hold a special place in our heart. And that's the way it is for all high school athletes that come out through track and field. I'm sure most high school sports, most kids who go through high school sports in general, but certainly on the track side of things, those coaches are everything to us as athletes, as young athletes. So it's fun to see that at the high school Hall of Fame level, so much credit is given to those high school coaches. So I'd love to see us as a foundation do more for high school coaches.
Will you be involved? Are you guys still involved with the NXN? Do you help with
that? So Christy Rieger, who's the meet director for the Indoor and Outdoor Championships, still runs the NXN Heartland region.
Oh, okay, cool.
Paul Limmer, who is on our board, has been since the beginning. He runs the New York and Northeast region. So we have regional directors of the NXN. So we as a foundation don't officially have work with NXN, although there's so much crossover with the members of the NSAF assisting Nike with NXN at the regional level, and then helping out at the national meet.
The protocols for the pandemic, are they they're such that this year you're able to do the meet, correct?
Knock on wood, we still continue. If we're on the path we're on right now, yes, we're able to do the meet. And I think the facility, Ocean Breeze and Hayward Field, have become experts in running events during this pandemic. So they're amazing partners that help us navigate the local, state and county guidelines. So they've been, Ocean Breeze and Tracktown and the Hayward Group have been amazing partners for us to help us navigate. And every state's different, right? And every county's different. So navigating those waters is tricky.
If a coach or a parent wants to learn more about the indoor and outdoor, where do they go?
Yeah, so just NikeIndoorNationals.com, NikeOutdoorNationals.com. The spaces live on Runner Space, so again, is an amazing partner of ours. Again, one thing I will say on the pandemic protocols is safety will always be our number one priority, and these kids' health and well-being will always be the number one priority of the foundation. So making sure protocols are in place to ensure the safety of the athletes and coaches and spectators and officials is always the number one priority. So that goes without saying, but it's worth saying anyway.
No, I think, Josh, it's really important. It's just nice seeing you enthused again. And
it's exciting. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, when I met you back in 98, 99 with Mr. Truax there, you two partners in crime, were shaking up high school sports. The Border Clash, which was the event between Oregon and Washington. I missed one of the meets. One, I literally was flown to a different airport, went absolutely ape crazy, and had to drive down. And I just loved it. From the cannon to, you'd have athletes there talking to the kids, and it was just so mellow. And then the NXN, it really, the kids there really got into it. And then the outdoor and the indoor, it was nice to see the families involved. It was nice to see how much the kids were getting into it. And it was amazing to see how a championship could be that didn't have a national federation name with it, what it told me was you guys had figured out how to entertain the kids, how to get them to give their best performances, how to interact. It's a culture, and I'm really happy to see someone do that again.
Larry, you said it, and I think the Border Clash was the seeds that produce all of those things. What the Border Clash showed us is if you treat track and field and/or cross country kids like traditional football players and basketball players, where the kids are the hero, right? That you create an experience far beyond the competition. And that's what the Border Clash did. And that inspired NXN or NTN originally, right? And then the experience at NXN inspired the changes we made in the track national meets, right? Where it wasn't just about the track meet itself, which is really important, but it's so much more than that. And I think all those seeds started with that Border Clash, which were hatched on a run with Johnny and I, so many years ago. So I think that the sport continues to blossom due to those seeds that were started, in 1998.
Last night, I had a conversation with the folks at World Athletics, the governing federation, and they're fascinated with the American numbers. And, I tell them 1.6 million high school kids, 14, 18 in cross country, indoor and outdoor. You get to 200,000 in colleges and clubs. Then you get down to about 5,000 at the elite club level, and you have the most winning track team in the world. And it's just people don't get it, and it's we have the best farm team. I think it's really because the opportunities, like what NSAF does for athletes. So many of these kids get such a positive experience, and then they're able to take that and help them get into college, so they get an education as well. It's a win-win situation, and I'm really happy for you guys, and we will pump the heck out of this for you. So
we appreciate it, Larry, and people supporting the sport like you and getting the word out, and we couldn't do it without you guys too. So you play a huge role in this, and thank you for that.
Well, you survived 38 minutes with me, buddy, and
terrific.
It's our longest conversation, I think, in about 10 years, which is kind of fun. But I just miss seeing you on the road a lot. It's been fun. So
yeah,
my best to your crew, and we will get up all the links, and I'll talk to Mike. We'll send you a link to this once we're finished up. We're going to break up some clips too. But anything last that you'd like to tell people on how to look for information or how to check on updates?
The website's always the best place. The social media, the NSAF handles on Instagram and Facebook. Some people still live on Facebook. But no, we're super excited to deliver a new level of experience that has never been experienced before in this sport. So we continue to push onward and upward, and innovation is the key. Like give people more than they expect, and that's what we aim to do.
Well, Josh, I like the attitude, and thanks again for being with us on
Good stuff,
Social
Larry.
Distance. This is Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. We're with Josh Rowe. He's a board member for NSAF. Remember, they've got the Nike indoor. Dates are March 11 to
10 to 13.
10 to 13.
Yeah.
Check the website, and then we'll have the outdoor in June, and that'll be at Hayward Field. The indoor will be at Ocean Breeze. I think that's an awesome facility, man. That track is so fast.
I've never been there. It's an incredible facility. I can't wait to go. What's the neat there?
They've done a great job. Josh, thanks a lot. Stay safe.
Larry,
And
great seeing you.
Great seeing you too.
All right, see you soon.
Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, epilogue for Socialing the Distance. Today we had a real treat. It was Josh Rowe, a good buddy. Met him back in 98, 99 with his partner in crime, Johnny Truax. They had started the Nike Border Clash. In his current life, Josh is a board member for the NSAF, the National Scholastic Athletics Foundation. And what they're about is developing a culture that gives young high school athletes a chance to excel. They do the Nike Indoor, which they just announced again, and the Nike Outdoor. Nike was originally involved with them back in the 90s, and then they spent 10 years with the folks at New Balance. And during the pandemic, that kind of faded away, and New Balance decided to do some things on their own. And NSAF wanted to keep this going. So Josh approached the folks at Nike, and thanks to Craig Masbach and that team in Nike Sports Marketing, they have put these together. The Nike Indoor Nationals will be March 11th through 13th at the Ocean Breeze Athletic Center on lovely Staten Island. You can get more information at indoornationals.com, and we encourage you to check it out. The Outdoor Nationals will be at Hayward Field, that icon of the sport, that sanctuary of sport. And what these events are about is they have a sub-elite level and an elite level. They give athletes a chance to compete at that level postseason, give a chance for athletes to meet other athletes and develop, lifelong friendships. And there's been some tremendous athletes that come through. Sidney McLaughlin, Noah Lyles, Josephus Lyles, Dathan Ritzenheim, one of my faves, now coach. And so it's interesting to see these athletes come full circle. NSAF was the brainchild of many people, including the late Mike Burns, Jim Spear, and Larry Rawson, among others. And they put their money where their mouth is, and the love of the sport. Tracy Sunland involved too, who's a real crazy man, but good crazy. They love the sport, they love kids, and they give them opportunities to compete. I can't say enough about NSAF. It's one of the organizations that back in the 90s, we worked with American Track and Field magazine and Athletes Only. We'd give them sections of the magazine and printed a lot of their programs and just pushed the heck out of their events because they're doing good things for good people, and it was done by good people. So can't say any more than that, but check out the Nike Indoor Nationals, March 11th through 13th, and on Staten Island at the Ocean Breeze Athletic Center. And we'll have some stories up about it too. And thank you to Josh Rowe. Thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager. Stay safe.